Wow, so here it is finally, Greg Talks Episode 2. This is a video that I've been planning for the last 2 months. I originally wanted to do this right after I started my Greg Talks series, and I wanted to do a video titled The Book That Changed My Life. And after I started thinking about that, I really got overwhelmed, because when you're making a video with such a strong message like the book that changed your life, you really want to make sure you have it covered. So I went back and reread the book, and then I wanted to make sure that I covered everything, which I'm sure I'm going to miss a bunch of stuff. After I go back and watch this, I'm going to think, oh, what did I miss? So I'm going to go over the book, the title of it, what it's about, and then its impact on me. And I'm really excited about this. So let's just get right into it. This is the book that I'm talking about. This is called Your Money or Your Life. It's by Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin. And this book's actually been out for a long time. This came out in 1992. I originally read it in 2005, and it really had a huge impact on me. And I thought, this is something I want to share, because as you know, I'm a financial guy, and this book, if you had to read a financial book, this is the one to read. So, Your Money or Your Life, what is the purpose of this book? This book's whole purpose is to transform your relationship with money, and it does exactly that. So you may be wondering, the title, what does that mean? What is your money or your life? Well, it's sort of like if you were getting robbed. Say a robber had a gun to your head and said, your money or your life, which would you choose? And of course the answer is you're going to choose your life. You're going to give up your money. But unfortunately, on a daily basis, we choose the exact opposite. We choose to give up our life and for money, and that's what we get out of it. So this book tries to make you think about that in a little bit of a bigger way. So they developed this concept called life energy. It's not really a concept, but it's like, what are you doing with your life energy? You only have so much time on this planet. So say your life is 80 years and you're 40 years old right now. You've used about half of your life energy. So you need to think about on a daily basis, how are you expending that life energy? Are you doing something that you want to do, or something that's productive, something you believe in? Or are you doing something that's counter to that you're just trying to trade your time for dollars? And then the next step of that is, you're taking those dollars, and then what are you doing with them? You're obviously spending money on necessities like food, clothing, housing, but then also you're buying a lot of junk too, probably. You're doing things and you're spending money on stuff that probably isn't really that important to you, and it may not be worth the amount of money that you expended on it. So, for example, say you make $10 an hour, just to make things simple, and you go and buy something for $5, say, and that thing that you just bought, that costs you 30 minutes of your life energy. And while you're young, that may seem like a whole lot of money, but when you get a little bit older, it certainly isn't. It's a lot. And this book kind of makes you think about, they kind of, in the beginning, make you do a tally, like how much life energy have you used so far, and how much do you anticipate to have, using like just projections on how long you'll live. Of course, you don't know how long that is. And then they want you to think about all the hours you've worked and how much money you've made, and then what do you have to show for it. And it's a striking figure when you think about all the hours that you put in, and probably you may not have a whole lot to show for all those hours, and that's really unfortunate. But this book tries to get you out of that mode and kind of thinking like, maybe I should change the way I spend my money. Maybe I should save differently. Maybe I don't even need to work as much as I do, because I'm spending a lot of money on junk that I really don't need or want. And that was the main thing that struck me with this, because once you start thinking about that, it changes your whole perspective on life. Like, say you do go to work and you made that $10 for that hour. Are you then going to go to McDonald's or whatever? I'm not going to pick on McDonald's, but are you going to go buy a hamburger and fries for half an hour of your labor? You're probably going to make a different decision. And what this book hopes that you do then is you take that money that you would have spent and hopefully invest it in something that earns a return. So eventually you can become financially independent. And financial independence is the point where your expenses, say your expenses are this line here, hopefully your investments start going up and up until you reach a point, they call it the crossover point, where you no longer have to work because your investments are equaling your expenses or exceeding it. And that essentially is what you would traditionally call retirement. And obviously it takes a long time to get there for most people, but maybe you can get there sooner, or maybe you can retire well before you're too old to really enjoy it. And this book will teach you all that stuff. They have a whole bunch of different steps in here. I think there's a total of 9 steps. I'm not perfect on this book, like I said. I just really wanted to make this. There are 9 steps. So upon reading this, that's what you'll get out of this, and that's what I got. In fact, I can really thank my mother-in-law for giving me this book and letting me borrow it. Back in 2005, I read this book. I was 21 years old. I was in college, and I read this and I thought, there is a different way. You don't have to do what the world tells you to do. The world tells you, as I'm sure you're aware, that you should go out, you should make as much money as possible and buy as much stuff as possible because that's where happiness is. That's what's really going to lead you to fulfillment. And this book basically tells you that isn't true. And I hope that if anything you can realize that more stuff doesn't make you happier. Because if you can get away from that, the whole world changes. And that's sort of where I went. In fact, I probably went a little overboard when I started reading this because I was like to the point where I was tracking all of my expenses and seeing where everything went, which they tell you to do, but I got a little carried away with it. And I almost became, and I'm sort of that way still, you almost become like a cheapskate because you don't want to spend any money on anything. And that's where I was at. Like in 2005, 2006, I think for a whole year I tracked every dime that I spent. I didn't do a whole lot with the information or the analytics that I got from that, but I became aware that I was wasting a lot of money and a lot of my hard-earned time at a time when in college you're really not making that much money, you know? So I've tried to live this my whole life and continue this on and hopefully retire early and just kind of get to the point where I'm not using a whole lot of money and I don't have to earn it. Therefore I can get out of the what you'd call the rat race earlier. I mean, I'm working towards that, and this book will do that. So this, if you can pick this up, I'm sure it's super cheap. It's a 22-year-old book, but all the principles in this are just as relevant today as it was when it was written. I don't get paid anything for you reading this, and I don't get anything out of it, but man, if this was required reading in school, I honestly believe that the world would be a different place because people wouldn't fall into the trap that I explained in this video. So that is Your Money, Your Life by Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin. It's my favorite book, one of many books that I have on finances and money, and I really enjoy reading these type of books. I have a couple more that I'd like to share with you on here, but maybe not right in order because that might be overwhelming. All these Greg Talks videos aren't always just going to be about money and finances. It's going to be about a lot of stuff, my life stuff and things that I've been thinking about, and I'm glad to get this one off my chest because it's been haunting me, and I've been thinking about like, oh, how am I going to relay this? And I hope that I did a good job at that. I hope I explained what this book's about, and I hope you pick this book up because it's gonna change the way you think about money, and that is their goal. So thanks for watching this Greg Talks. Sorry it was 2 months until this came, but I'm really glad that I went back and thought about these concepts again, and I do think it's worth it. So thanks for watching. We're gonna have more Greg Talks soon.